Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we are ready to guide you through the wild and wonderful world of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a baby kinkster, a seasoned pro, or just here for the entertainment, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us as we share our own wild, sometimes awkward, but always entertaining experiences and spill the tea from our combined 30-plus years in the private and professional kink worlds.
So grab your favorite flogger or wand.
Thank you.
And buckle up. You'll learn, you'll laugh, and who knows, you might just spit out your coffee.
Let's get this kinky party started.
Want more Pink Kink in your life? Join our Patreon and get ready for a whole lot of kinky fun and exclusive perks.
As a patron, you'll unlock access to our private Discord server where you can connect with fellow kinksters and chat directly with us. You'll also score adorable pink kink stickers and enjoy a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast packed with juicy tidbits we don't share anywhere else. Plus, get sweet discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and on our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
But wait, there's more.
More?
Our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get extras, such as bonus content and free digital downloads. Oh, and let's not forget, the Pink Standard of patrons will be recognized as producers on both the podcast and on our website, because we couldn't do this without you.
Pink Kink runs on the love and support of our amazing patrons, so join the party today. Visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click on the link on pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Daddy J, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Manda Panda, Cat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Zura, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, Serenity, Belle, Eric, S'more, Hacksaw, Devoted Knight, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Crash Override, Sviper, No Swiping, Barbie.
Navigator Bard, Mr. Pillsbury, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Chaos Monster, Jessa Lady, Jack, Ophelia, Birchbeard, Lady to Kitten, Sadia Lemon, Ben, Noir, Freddie Queen, Elysium Rose, Avalia, Nora Morapora, Bricks, Wonder Chris, Cheshi, Manders, Ashley B, Swinging Amish, Dark Gaia, Hyper Tarantula, Sunny B, Kane, Aura Lynn.
I'm excited about this topic because I think Dara's going to have a lot to contribute to this, being that once again, she and I are very, very different and are going to have different answers for this.
I was going to say, this is new.
So I said once again, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts and how you look at all of this. Now, this episode was inspired by something somebody said in a different Discord server. And they were talking about kink and how it integrates into your life. Is kink your entire life or just a part of it? And if it's just a part of it, is it a small part, medium part, a large part? And it really got me thinking about how this works, because I know for me, I don't know that kink's my entire life, but it's a fucking hell of a lot of my life, a very, very large part of my life. I think the only part of my life that isn't kink is work.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, if I'm not working, I am doing things for the podcast, which is obviously kink related, or I'm actually doing scenes and stuff at the dungeon, kink related, or I am reading books where I am helping authors with the kink information in these books and letting them know what works and what doesn't. Again, kink related.
So I am just very confidently going to say that with the exception of work, kink is your life.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I don't know where I'm falling on this. I think I've fallen back on how much kink is my life. It used to be. I can say that with confidence, but these days, not as much.
Yeah, we're going to do an episode talking about some of the reasons why.
Oh, yeah.
So that's your little hint, folks. That's all I'm giving, because I mean like that.
And we've actually talked about it in the Discord and stuff too. So like I am definitely pulling back right now from how much kink is in my life.
I will say, as much as kink is still very much a very, very large part of my life, how it's a part of my life has changed. So it's less about doing the actual kink. And for me, the education part has dramatically increased. Now, some people build their entire identity around kink, and I might be one of them. I'm not sure.
Yes, you are.
Right?
Hands down, no question, your entire identity is kink.
Probably.
Listen, you changed your name to Princess Rara, which is your kink name on your public Facebook. That's it.
You know what? It's been very weird since I did that, in the sense that I did that originally because I didn't want people knowing my vanilla name on there. Oh, did I mention that somebody who I had been friends on Facebook with way back when I did have my vanilla name accidentally outed my vanilla name to a mutual?
Ooh.
Yeah. So when I first got into the kink lifestyle, I had my vanilla first and last name. And it was my legal first name because I do go by Rara outside of the kink world. In fact, the only ones who call me by my legal name are my family. Everybody else, even at work, I'm Rara. So, and then over time I changed it. And then I got rid of my vanilla last name and I added my first and middle name. And then I changed my legal first name to Rara. And then eventually I changed it to Princess Rara. But anyway, this is somebody that I had met when I first moved here 10 years ago. He was a mutual with Voldemort, but he's not friends with Voldemort anymore. Most everybody isn't. So he somehow ran into an author that I'm friends with at a swingers event, I think. And they discovered that they both knew me. And he used my legal name, which thankfully this was somebody I could trust. So it's not the end of the world that she found out, though she says she forgot it already, which is great.
I mean, sure, I've known your legal name for so long and I still forget what it is half the time.
Well, and for me, having to use your legal name when we're around your family is just weird and wrong.
Yeah, that too.
But
wait. The funniest part for me was, do you remember my wedding?
Yes.
Okay. That was hysterical because I'd never in my right mind put together that my kink friends were okay. So my wedding was COVIDified. So we had it on Facebook Live and my family was watching and everybody was posting in the chat and calling me my legal name. But then my kink friends were also on there watching and calling me by my kink name. I'm sure there was confusion on both sides.
So I ran into this person who had used my legal name at Winter Fire. And I went up to him and he went to go give me a hug. And I went, I am angry at you. He's like, what did I do? What did I do? And I told him. And I said, look, it's okay that it ended up being okay because she's a good person. I'm not worried about what she's going to do with this information if she even remembered it. But it's still not okay. You cannot do that. And he's like, you're absolutely right. I was completely wrong. I'm so sorry.
Did it just slip out or how did that even happen?
I don't know the full conversation. And I'm kind of surprised he remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I joined FetLife, I put Rara as my name on there. So other than Facebook, he wouldn't have heard me being referred to as anything other than Rara.
So the part that I'm confused about is so I happen to have a friend from fucking way back in the day. I mean, we're talking going on, over 20 years at this point. So just after high school. And this person happens to have a relationship with somebody who is in our Discord. Now, I have not talked to my friend, or I hadn't talked to my friend in a couple of years because she moved, And then suddenly I get a message on Facebook from her that says, hey, do you know this person? I think they're in your Discord. And I was like, how the fuck do you know about my Discord? And she goes, through this person. Turns out she's kinky too and didn't know that I had a podcast and started listening to it because of our mutual. And then she heard my kink name, which was not my kink name way, way back in the day. And she got very confused. So the person in our Discord was like, oh, do you listen to Pink Kink? It's this person, Dara and Rara. And she listened and she knew exactly who I was from my voice. And she goes, oh my God, I know her, but that is not the name I know her by. Now, my friend is very, very smart and did not reveal that name. However, she is one of those people that was like super confused because she knows me now from both worlds. So I could see her accidentally saying my real name like that because she knew me from before I had the kink name that I do now. So that could happen, but she's a smart cookie and she picked up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate in the fact that I'm out. So had he used that, had he done something or anybody done something with this information, I'm not at risk of losing family, friends, or job. My family knows completely. My kids know, my parents know, my sister, brother-in-law, and nephew know, which probably means my nephew's wife probably knows. And in fact, when I was visiting, you know how like when you have a get together with a lot of people and you get the red Solo cups, you write your name on the cups, right? I wrote Rara, which made everybody laugh and make fun of me, but that's okay.
Whatever.
I mean, just to show you how out I am, my boss's cousin was visiting and she and I bonded over heated rivalry and being very liberal. Because she comes from the middle of the country and she's about the only liberal in her family other than my boss. And so we bonded over that. And so we kept sharing TikToks about heated rivalry or at the time what was happening in Minneapolis. And I didn't even think about it, but when you share a TikTok, it tells you the name of the person, of the account that has shared it with you. And I'm sharing it from Pink Kink Podcast. So I outed myself at that point. But she and I had discussions. I don't say that I'm kinky. I say I'm involved in alternative lifestyles. And then if anybody wants to ask questions beyond that, I'm happy to answer. But I leave it at that.
My entire team at work knows. A few other people, they know. I've literally had conversations at work where I've said, hey, you're into this lifestyle. Why don't you come to, for example, this most recent one was Exotica. I've invited people to, and they showed up. I've invited people to Risque from work. I mean, I'm pretty confident in my kinkdar for people at work. And at my new building, same job, different area, I said, I went to my, I guess not direct boss, but one of my bosses. And I was like, some stuff that she was saying, I was like, you're a little. And she goes, she had the same reaction I did. The fuck is a little? I said, okay, sit down for this one. And I explained. And she goes, how do you know about all this? And I said, listen, this is going to sound weird. Don't fire me. I'm trusting you here. But I am semi-famous in this circle and I have a podcast and I teach classes on it. You're a fucking little. And I'm saying this in my boss's office. And she goes, all right, I'm going to have to listen to this podcast. I said, here's a little episode. Go listen to it. And you tell me if this does not scream your name. She comes back the next day. And she goes, yeah, I guess I'm a little.
One of us.
Yeah. And then she goes, okay, so wait a minute. Tell me more about this. And so, yeah. I'm out a lot, but I don't want the major higher ups in my company to know still, because that would still be kind of icky.
So I have to laugh, right? Because here's another example, I guess, sort of proving and cementing kink is my whole life. One of the ways to look at it is, right, our friends, hobbies, and social lives all revolving around kink. Well, first of all, I only have one vanilla friend. And she and I have had discussions about kink. I've come out to her about kink. I don't hide it. We talk about it. She has shared some information. I don't think she identifies as kinky. However, there's a little kink to her world.
What, you?
Well, no, in her relationship with her husband. She shared, we have shared. I have no reason why people are so comfortable sharing really private, deep information with me. I mean, I guess I'm a trustworthy person and they can tell I'm non-judgmental. If you want to tell me about your sex life, I will listen to it. I'm fascinated by it. I love to learn that stuff. So we've had these conversations. So I guess, yes, my friends all revolve around kink.
So I have a lot more work people than you do. So my work is definitely not, I mean, there's a shitload of kinky people, but like I said, I have very good kinkdar. However, not everybody. And I can't say, I can't say that I can say I mostly have kink friends because that's just the major circles. But just when I hang out with people from work, not all of them are kinky. Although some of them say stuff sometimes that I just look at them and I say, I question your vanilla-ness. I really do.
Then, of course, there's hobbies. Do your hobbies revolve around kink? I don't have a lot of hobbies, I'll admit at this point. My hobbies are reading and trash
Which
reality.
are mostly kink.
Right, and trash reality television. And let's talk about those real quickly. So in reading, though not every book I read is kinky, there's definitely some kink involved. Like I said, I'm into Omegaverse right now, big time, which is poly. They're all together.
Alternative lifestyle-ish.
Yeah.
Esque.
They're all together, sleeping in one big fucking bed. It's great. And my book, even with my books and my reality television, I share that with my kinky friends. We talk about it, right? So heated rivalry. Vixen and I, every day, texts and TikToks back and forth all day about it. My obsession with Love is Blind. Vixen's partner, Chaos Monster. He and I have that in common. So he and I are constantly texting and sending TikToks back and forth. Oh, I do have to share the funniest story.
Yeah.
Chaos Monster was ahead of me in watching the episodes that Netflix released. I was behind. And the newest episodes came out this past Wednesday. And I got a text from him saying, "Are you caught up yet?" And I said, "No, I'm not." He goes, "Let me know when you're caught up. I have so much to say." So I stayed up too late to watch and catch up and sent him a text the next day saying, "I'm caught up." I was in the middle of Target. I'm caught up. Within a minute, I get the longest text message from him that there's no way he wrote that at the time. This man had been keeping notes on each couple that as soon as I gave him the green light,
copied and pasted that
text.
shit. Yes. That's amazing. And very much like him.
I loved this. I mean, first of all, I love that he and I have our own thing going, our own relationship. He is super happy to have somebody to talk to about this shit because Vixen isn't into it. So the fact that I am between Love Island and Love is Blind, and then I think there was a third show that I'm like, you really got to get into this. I need somebody to be into the traders. I have Naughty and Nice that we discuss Survivors and Amazing Race. So like even my hobbies, I'm doing them with my kinky friends and pulling into that.
It's because you only have kinky friends. Who else are you going to do this with?
So I could find non-kinky friends to do this with, but instead I just make my kinky friends do it with me. So I guess.
But do you actually have any non-kinky friends? Like for real?
For real, no.
Okay.
But I would look for them if I had to. I just don't have to. So I guess, yeah, I'm going to have to say my life is, kink is like my life, and that's that.
Yep. Just admit it.
Just admit it. You have hobbies that aren't kinky.
Yes, I have quite a few hobbies that are not kinky. Let's see. I bake. That's not kinky. I don't exactly know how to bake the baking kinky.
You could do food play with it.
I mean, yeah, I've done that, but not with stuff that I've baked. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to call that non-kinky. My other hobbies, let's see, I read, and I mostly read non-kinky, non-sexual stuff. If there is sex in it, I tend to skip it because
you don't like
literally, no, it does absolutely nothing for me, which is weird for an audio file. Like if I'm listening to a book, because I mostly do Audible now, and there's a scene in there that's sexy times. I'm like, okay, I'm bored, and I skip it, which is really weird, right? Like you wouldn't think. But also, like they're all the same to me. Like there's nothing new and interesting about it. I think I've liked a few of them that are different and interesting, but very rarely do they actually grab my attention, and very, very, very rarely do they have anything to do with the plot. And so I feel I can skip an entire chapter. I did that just this past book. I just finished one. And I skipped an entire chapter because the whole thing was just sex. And I was like, okay, I'm bored. They're not even the main damn characters and all they do is fuck. I can skip all of this. I'm so tired of it having nothing to do with the actual plot. And let's see. I'm writing. Don't write sexy scenes. What other hobbies do I have? Playing with my dogs. Does that count as a hobby? Though that's definitely not kinky.
I don't know. Some people think making kink your whole life is not the way to do it. And then there's people like me who are like, I don't care if it's the way to do it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. You have no choice. That's just it.
That's just it. This is what works for me. It's not going to work for everyone. It doesn't have to work for everyone, but it works for me. So we're now 20 minutes into this episode that I can see. And now we're really going to go deeply into it. We're going to talk.
Oh my God.
I know. We're still in the notes in the introduction section. We haven't gotten past the introduction section. Jesus. So we're going to be exploring both sides, the positive and the negative from both sides of making kink your whole life and not making it. And we're not going to tell you what's right and what's wrong because we can't decide that for you. You have to look into it yourself and see what feels right for you. So how do people end up being fully immersed in kink? Well, for a lot of us, getting entry into kink really felt life-changing. I know for me, it felt like home. It was the first place where I felt like I really fit in. I was the vanilla person who was so comfortable with being naked, with talking about sex like it's not a big deal, surrounded by people who felt very differently. I remember with my second husband, like I was the one who said, dude, be naked when you go to sleep. Why are you wearing anything? Like what happens if we want to roll over in the middle of the night and have sex? You're dressed. Like nudity is just nudity. It's no big deal. I haven't quite convinced my kids of that, but whatever. But I have convinced my kids, I hope I have, well, at least I know I have with the conversation I've had with my daughter, about sex being something that's just normal and natural, and we shouldn't have to hide that we have sex. Every person who's been here, who's on this planet, is here because somebody had sex.
Yeah, fair point. But try convincing your middle son of that.
Hold on. Not true. My nephew's an IVF baby. So, okay, so not true. Let me reframe that.
Also, you're forgetting, I know you're Jewish and everything, but apparently Jesus.
That's true. Well, not Jesus, Mary.
Well, Mary's no, you said is the result of.
Oh, a result of, yeah. But I guess technically you could say because, this is going to sound awful and I'm sorry, but somebody had to masturbate to get the sperm to put into the egg. So I guess that's still considered sex, right?
But, okay, sure, for IVF, but does an ethereal being have to masturbate?
I don't know. Remember, I don't believe any of that happened, so I haven't sat down to think about it.
Well, I was taught that happened my entire life, and now I don't really believe it. Let's just put that out there. But I look at it as mythology, but now I'm kind of like thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder who would actually be able to respond to that and give me a good reason.
Yeah, I don't know. But joining kink and meeting other people, I'm finally around people who speak the same goddamn language that I do, who like the same things that I do. Even within kink, when I can meet somebody who's into, let's say, sharps or blood play, it's like, whoa, let's sit and talk. And we'll have all these conversations because there's a level of comfort with them. There's this relief and recognition that I'm not the odd duck anymore. I know, like, I used to think there was something maybe wrong with me, that I liked this or was so comfortable with this, and finally getting to meet other people, I'm not alone. And so there's some fast bonding within kink spaces, right? The shared vulnerability really creates a quick emotional intimacy. Immediate friends, we like the same thing. And then when people do scenes together, right, that accelerates that trust and that closeness. So now there becomes a gradual shift in social circles where vanilla friends may fade because they no longer have the shared experiences, while kink friends become your primary emotional supports. When I moved here from Phoenix, left my vanilla world behind and just immersed myself completely in my kink world. And the identity starts to shift, right? Kink started as something you do, and then it became something you are, right? So I do kink. I like kink. Now it's I am a kinkster.
Mm-hmm.
And that eventually becomes the main lens through which you see yourself. So I'm going to talk about the positives of making kink your primary world and why I would recommend it. So first of all, kink is a place where you can belong. For many of us, it's the first space where we feel accepted, which is especially common for queer, neurodivergent, or marginalized folks because there's no need to mask or minimize or explain. I've watched it, let's say just with you, Dara, as you've spoken to others who fall, let's say, on the ADHD spectrum, on the neurospicy spectrum. And you're able to bond and commiserate with each other about maybe some of the difficulties you run into or the ways you need to accommodate. And I read in the chat and I could feel the excitement almost. You do that too? Okay, it's not just me. Yes. All right. How do we deal with this? What do we do? And there's such a bonding around that.
Yeah, there is.
Or the queer, or even our queer members who are able to give advice to each other and help. There's nobody has to hide who they are. They can be proud of it. I am queer and happy about it. I am, again, the odd duck in all of this, but I love watching everybody else really bond over this. And especially marginalized folks feeling that they have a safe zone. This community really offers validation, affirmation. Your desires, your wants, your needs are normalized instead of being questioned. I know a lot of us have bonded over our, let's say, less than perfect relationships with our families. We have a lot of us in there. Now, I don't know whether that's a coincidence or maybe something about being kinky creates this, because even before we know that we're kinky, we know we're different, and that difference creates issues with our family members before we have a name to put to it. And I know for me, for example, a lot of my issues stem from the fact that I didn't do things the way my mother thought I should do that. And maybe that's because even before I knew the word kink and that I was kinky, I just knew I liked things done differently. And the way what I needed was different. So I love that. Having power dynamics are understood rather than judged. Nobody questions the fact that you choose to submit. There was a discussion in a different Discord server about somebody's wife who identified as an independent, strong, tough feminist, was really struggling with the fact that they were a submissive. Not all the time, by any means, not 24/7, but if nothing else, at least in the bedroom, they were submissive. And that was hard for them to understand. And immediately, people responding, oh, I get it. I'm in the same position. Here's ideas of ways to handle it. So instead of being judged, people are being understood and helped and made to feel normal. And isn't that what we all want to feel? Like we're not wrong or weird or crazy. We're normal.
Well, so like about that is way more common than people think it is. It is incredibly common for someone to be in a, say, high-powered job position where they're the boss, male, female, anything else, and then you're in the bedroom, you're submissive. So common. And the feelings of, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing like this? Just about every time. In fact, a huge amount of the men that I used to have as subs back when I did all of that were very high-powered job men.
Yeah,
and they couldn't understand what they were doing.
That's actually perfect, right? Because that power exchange really helps provide emotional grounding. And Dara has talked about this many times. When you are somebody who has to make decisions day in and day out, constantly, having that one area where you can just let go and be and have somebody else take that worry away from you is really helpful.
It's amazing. It is so good for my mental health when I can just not, because I've said this before, in my job, I make decisions all day long. I have the most severe decision fatigue by the time I come home. I'm like, I don't want to. If I make one more goddamn decision, I'm going to lose it.
And that's another reason, right, that we want to kind of lose ourselves in kink, because that power exchange, those clear roles, the expectations really help with the emotional grounding. There's community rituals and events, regular munches and parties and classes you can take. The ability to have others that you can talk to and learn from and grow and be able to share, hey, I've got this question or this issue or problem. And instead of people going, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with you? They can help you. They might say, oh, I've had the same thing. This is what worked for me. Or they might say, well, I haven't really had that issue, but here's some advice. And you're not made to feel like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you like and do any of this? There's safety through immersion, through losing yourself and making kink your primary world. Deep involvement can really increase awareness. It helps you understand social norms and etiquette. It helps you learn who is trusted and who is not. I will say my exposure to the queer community was minimal at best before I joined the kink world. And being able to meet queer folk and learning about them, learning about their struggles and the problems that they run into and the way that they are marginalized has made me a better ally. And I always thought of myself as an ally because I've never judged queer people. I've always been like, you get to love who you want to love. It doesn't really matter. But I would say that that was the end of my allyship. It was just like, hey, yeah, I'm not judging you. But being exposed and hearing people that I care about struggling and having these issues has made me want to speak up more and do more. And they've also opened my eyes to things I never even thought about. Talking to neurodivergent people has helped me be a better parent to my eldest, who is neurospicy, and learning ways that they have done things and the struggles that they've had. And I'm able to recognize that and now translate that into how I deal with my son has helped my relationship with him. And I wouldn't have had all that without the kink community. Access to education and mentorship and building skills. I feel like I'm a better communicator thanks to kink because of the emphasis on communicating. I've learned to be more honest. I've learned to know myself better and recognize what I need and want to make me happy because kink encourages you to do that. And that they don't really do that in the vanilla world. So I love that. For some people, integration over compartmentalization really helps, right? They don't want separate identities. Kink self versus real self. The kink self feels like who you really are versus the self that maybe my parents might know if I hadn't come out. This is who I get to be. I like myself better as the kinkster than when I wasn't a kinkster, than when I was a vanilla. I'm happier. And by being happier, I'm nicer to other people. I treat other people better. I'm more understanding because I'm happier. And not having to hide myself is such a relief, right? For the longest time, like at my last job, I could not be as open and honest. And saying that I needed, let's say, the weekend off to go to Winter Fire, I couldn't really talk about why I needed that weekend off. It was just more like, yeah, I'm going out with some friends. We're going away. I did this with somebody just recently about somebody who I didn't necessarily feel I could come out to. They were like, oh, we noticed you weren't at work Friday. I said, yeah, I had the weekend off. They're like, oh, what'd you do? I said, I was in Baltimore. Oh, you were in Baltimore? Yeah, a bunch of friends and I decided to get a hotel room in Baltimore and just have a weekend together, a girls' weekend. And they're like, oh, that's so much fun. While my boss, who I trust, I can say, hey, I'm going to be teaching some classes at this conference, so I need the weekend off. And they're like, all right, cool.
That reminds me, I think the reason I fully came out to my parents, my mom sort of knew, but my dad did not, anything. And the reason I did that, I finally came out, was because I was sick and tired of trying to come up with reasons why I was going to Exotica and covering that. I remember I was in Chicago after an extremely late Exotica. I was there and I was staying at my cousin's. My aunt comes over. My cousin knew, but my aunt came over and she's like, dang, what's wrong with you? I know you went to this convention. I said, yeah, but afterwards we got really, really drunk. So I'm hungover as shit. what I was in was drop, but it looks enough like being hung the fuck over that I could get away with that. Now, here's the thing. I don't drink. I'm allergic to the fucking preservatives and alcohol. And my aunt knows this. So why she did not put this together, I don't know. But I'm sick. I was so sick and tired of coming up with my aunt still doesn't know, but I ended up, my dad picked me up from the airport and he was like, so what really did you guys do? Because I was trying to find your convention that you told me you were at.
Ooh.
And I, because I was trying to see what was, I don't know why he was doing that, but he was like curious. And I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. Do you really want to know what we were doing? I was like, I'm done.
It can be very exhausting trying to cover up or worry about how you say things, right? Maybe you have a partner who's the same sex and you're talking to somebody who is outside of kink and maybe not as used to the queer world or not comfortable with it. And then you've got to remember pronouns and fake pronouns.
Well, and fake names. So listen, here's the thing though. At this point, I am in my I don't give a fuck era. So that's where a lot of this is coming from, where I'm just stopping giving a shit.
Oh, that's the best era. All right, so let's talk about where being fully immersed can become risky. Because you always have to know both sides, right? First of all, if everybody in your world is kinky, you've created an echo chamber where shared beliefs are going to go unchallenged. So some harmful behaviors might be reframed as, and longevity or popularity gets mistaken for ethics. So I've seen this happen where you see kinksters who've been around a really, really long time and people look at, say they're good people, they're knowledgeable people, and you don't delve deeper. And then language can sometimes shut down any critique. I've seen this where you'll watch a dynamic and maybe you'll be uncomfortable with the way the dominant is treating the submissive. And you start to look at it going, eeks, I don't know if that's healthy. I don't know. As we said in an earlier episode, maybe that's becoming abuse. And then somebody else is going to say, oh, well, that's just their dynamic. They've always been like that. You're being too sensitive. And so nobody is really going to stand up and point out that there's a problem because you're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's fine. Whatever. It's their dynamic. Because we've all been trained to not look at other people if they're doing things differently than we would. Even though sometimes you can see it, it's not okay and it's not healthy. Social standing becomes really high stakes. Who you know matters more. And I find this as the person who matters more, right? I have people who try to become friends with me and try to connect with me, not because they like me, but because of my connections that they want to now kind of get into. And that bothers me. I will have submissives reach out to me, not because they're truly interested in submitting to me, but because I can be a notch that they can say, oh, look, I'm Princess Rara's sub. Princess Rara, the one who runs the podcast, hosts the Munch and all that. I'm her sub. And I don't want that. I want somebody to be with me. I talk a lot about there's Rara and there's Princess Rara. And they're two different people. And I want a sub who wants to be Rara's sub, not Princess Rara's sub, if that makes sense. You start to worry about who's supporting you, who's talking about you. Are you losing access to events? Are you being quietly pushed out? Because if you've made kink your whole life and that happens, what do you got? You got nothing. If all your friends are in the same community, when there's a breakup or a dispute, it's not private. Everybody knows and sides get taken. And that's what happened.
We've had experiences there.
And that's what happened with me with Voldemort. Now, I'm very lucky. Most everybody took my side. And as a result, he kind of got pushed out and he's hanging out on the fringe. Now, he deserves it. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, you see it in divorces, right? People take sides. But that's fine in a vanilla world because there's a lot more people and you can take sides and be with that person and just increase your friend circle with new people. While in the kink community, we talk about how it's a small world. There's a lot of us there, but it's a small world and everybody knows. And when there's a breakup, people talk and people take sides. And that's a problem. And that because sometimes also losing that dynamic means losing your entire social world. If all your friends are because that was your dominance friends, and now you've broken up with them and now you don't got friends, that can be very sad and lonely. When your identity is tied to the role versus the relationship, then if that role ends, if you're the dominant or the submissive in the dynamic, and then all of a sudden the dynamic breaks up, then who the fuck are you? Your sense of self can feel really unstable. And then the grief hits harder because everything is connected. DS breakups are hard enough, but now if you're like, who the fuck am I now that I don't have this dynamic? What do I do? I've lost my partner. I've lost the friends. I've lost myself. That can be really difficult. So having a life outside of kink, there are positives. And I say this as even somebody who has no life outside of kink. I still recognize that there are positives to it. First of all, you have multiple sources of support. Friends who know you outside kink and can maybe offer you a different perspective on issues to help you, come adjust. Your interests are unrelated to power exchange, so you're exposed to so much more. You're going to get a perspective and reality check that you might not otherwise get. You have outside voices that might notice things that insiders normalize. Having somebody to say, hey, I don't really like how your partner treated you. That's not okay. Versus somebody within the kink world might say, oh, that's just their dynamic. It's fine. When again, it really isn't. And they might be able to point out patterns that you don't see. Because within the kink community, let's say you're the submissive and your dominant is doing things that are not healthy to you. Even other submissive might look at that and go, and I've seen this, I wish I had a dominant who did that. Or they might think, oh yeah, that's what a dominant is supposed to do. While somebody outside of the kink world could be like, I don't quite like how your relationship is going. I don't like how your partner talks to you. I don't like how they treat you. And you're able to kind of stop for a minute and go, okay. Yeah, that's not okay what they're doing. So there's less emotional dependence on just one space. And it helps avoid groupthink. It's an important reminder that you are more than your role. You are more than a title or a dynamic. As I said, I'm very well aware of it. I talk about there being two parts to me. Princess Rara, the leader, the podcast host, the educator, versus Rara, who's just the kinkster. And I'm very, very fortunate that I have a small circle of friends that I trust implicitly, that I can just be Rara around. And I'm able to have that space. Now, yes, it's still within the kink community, but I recognize that space is very important and I need it. And I was able to create that. You might not be able to. You might need to have a group of vanilla friends where you have that outside community where you can just be who you are and not worry about your role.
I was going to say, your emergency contacts are all kinksters.
Yep.
So,
yes, you and Naughty and Nice are my emergency contacts.
And it's my job to clean out your house when you die so that the ambulance people don't find all the dungeon stuff.
Yes, and to also share my toys with whoever wants them.
Yeah, because God knows I'm not taking any of them.
That's not true. You might take the buffalo flogger or the deerskin flogger. You like the deerskin flogger.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'll take the deerskin flogger, but everything else I'm just going to have an auction.
That's fine. Raise money and give it to NCFS. How's that?
Pretty much, yep.
Okay.
That's what it was.
In my donation, I would like to do that.
In Rara's name.
In Rara's name. Princess Rara's name, because it's, kinky.
Sorry, yes,
that's
princess.
If there's drama in the kink community, and let's face it, there's always drama in the kink community, you still have the ability to have a safe space, a grounding space with your vanilla friends. I mean, I love drama as long as I'm not involved. I admit that freely. I'm nosy like that. I want to know what's happening. I'm still waiting to find out. Cindy was doing research for me. We still don't know what the hell the person was doing with the toilet cover at Winterfire that they had to make the announcement about. We're able to find out. I believe they took it into the hallway, but that just gives me more questions and I need to know the answers. But as long as I'm not involved in the drama, I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, but you do also like being involved in drama. You start enough shit.
I like to think I start good drama, not mean drama.
Well, okay, you may not start mean drama in your head, but I'm sure the person on the receiving end thinks that it's mean drama.
Well, I cannot help how they infer what I did. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Okay.
Actually, yes, it is. They infer, you imply.
There we go. Because I did not imply. I can't stop them
Correct.
from inferring.
Correct. Well done.
Thank you. I really haven't even finished my cup of coffee, and it's not even noon yet. So it is noon. So I am kind of still proud of myself.
So next week we'll do a lesson on affect and effect.
Okay, that one
drives me nuts.
That one I know. That one I know. An effect is the noun. It's what's happened. And affect is the verb. It's what you do.
Correct. Which one comes first? Alphabetical order. You have to do it before it actually happens. So that's...
Oh, I never knew it that way. Thank you. That's an excellent thing.
I mean, you had it correct, but just the way that I've always remembered it is you have to do it before it actually happens.
No, I love that.
And it's in alphabetical order. So yeah.
I was just taught it and I remember it. But that's a little tip is very cute. And the week after that, can we do that? Can we do there, and there?
Which is which?
There.
It's your and your. My God, my favorite one right now, my favorite meme is when you know your shit with a picture of Obama and it's YOUR. And when you know your shit, YOU''RE.
It's
Trump. It's my favorite meme right now.
Oh my God, that is fucking brilliant.
Have I not shown that to you?
No, I fucking love that.
I'm grabbing it right now and I'm going to send it to you.
All right, hold on. Let me get back because I still got a lot more to talk about. All right.
Oh, you don't have very much time.
I know. That's why I'm trying to hurry. So when your dynamic ends, if you have your vanilla world to still fall back on, your identity and your support system remains intact. And you don't feel like maybe you've lost yourself. Now, here's an important nuance, right? Balance is not equally accessible for everybody. Not everyone has safe, non-kink spaces. Maybe their families rejected them. Maybe there's marginalization issues or workplace issues. And so for many, the kink community is their safest option. So suggesting that you find some sort of balance can ignore the barriers to that balance. So it's not really telling you what you should do, but more kind of understanding and identify the risks and the choices. I can have my kinky identification known in the vanilla world. Dara can't. I had a friend who went through a divorce in, unfortunately, a fault estate. So if your representatives are voting for getting rid of no-fault divorce, send them letters and tell them you don't want that. Some interesting statistics about before they added no-fault divorce, the difference between the two in domestic violence towards women, homicides of women, and suicides of women. It was kind of scary how bad it was before they finally put in no-fault divorce.
Do you know why the number of men, there wasn't homicides, but like did the basic premise of why men died so early? Because there was no-fault divorce?
Yeah. Never underestimate an angry woman.
Listen, there's a reason that women know how to poison.
Right.
And
I
say
trope. That because before the no-fault divorce, gay marriage was not allowed. So that's why we can safely use these genders. But I don't want anybody thinking that somehow we're judging them because they can't come out, right? I get it. I get my privilege in being able to be out there. But I am surrounded by a lot of people who don't have that. Some signs that it might be worth reflecting how well you are balancing your kink world and your non-kink world is, are you staying in situations, in relationships, dynamics longer than you should because leaving it feels really socially devastating? Is all of your emotional support tied to one group and you have no other place to go? Are you losing touch with interests or relationships outside of kink? And do you feel like if your dynamic ended, your world is ended and you would lose yourself? If you have concerns about those, it might be time to kind of say, hey, maybe I need to balance my kink life and my non-kink life just a little better. But if these are not issues for you and you're not worried about that, then don't worry that your balance is off. Let's face it, most people really kind of live somewhere in the middle. They're deeply involved, but still grounded in things outside of kink. You can be completely immersed in the kink world, hi, me, and still be completely intentional. Kink can be central without being everything. I am still able to have relationships with family outside of kink. I still have the relationship with my one vanilla friend, but can still talk about my kink world knowing she's not in the kink world. So the key question really to ask yourself is this a conscious choice or am I being driven by a fear of losing a community? So as I said, what works for me is deeply immersing myself. I don't know if that's maybe because I got into kink older. And as I always joke, my years of kink are limited. At some point, I will either be too old to actually do the kink. I can still talk about the kink. I can learn about the kink, but actually doing the kink, I'm going to be too old. So maybe that's why I've chosen to immerse myself because I understand my time is limited and I want to get as much as I can versus maybe somebody who's in their 20s and understands they have years and years ahead of themselves where they can do kink. So they're able to have a little bit more of a life outside of kink than I do. But even within that kink, there are things that I do that necessarily aren't kinky, like watching my trash reality television and reading books. But I've still kind of brought it into the kink world by having kinky friends that I can share it with and talk to about that so that the conversations are safe. Vixen and I can talk about whether or not Ilya is a dom and Shane is a submissive, which, by the way, the answer is no. They're not. I know people like to look at it and think they are, but they're not. They're just top and bottom in the sense of the gay community. One gives and one receives. I don't think that Shane ever actually fucks Ilya. The fucking only goes in one direction. As Shane said, he likes to be the receiving hole.
I have no idea what you're fucking talking about.
Yes, but all my heated rivalry fans will know exactly what I'm talking about. Dara, you got into the kink community a lot younger than I did and have been doing it longer. Do you think that maybe because of that, you've kept a little bit more of a balance between kink world and non-kink world?
Yeah, my kink exposure being at 19 was my first time doing it. Well, I mean, like I had seen it before, but actually doing it, I was 19. And I immediately was I had to keep a balance because I was 19. So nobody really knew about it. I only had a couple people. And then I started branching out from there and it became more. And then I went to in podunk fuck all nowhere. And I was incredibly limited with who I could kink with and how I could kink. So I didn't really have a huge amount of choice in the matter. I didn't get the privilege of being back in the actual scene, like for real, until I was probably 30. And even then, at that point, I had been in for 11, 12 years. And this was just how I did it.
Do you worry as you're getting older that you're running out of time to do all the kinky things you want to do? Does that cross your mind or not yet?
No, because I've honestly done all the kinky things that I want to do at this point that I really truly want to do. I've done them. The exceptions are what we're doing at our next birthday party with the looning and maybe a couple of other things, but I don't feel this press to do it because again, I'm in my I don't give a fuck era.
Well, I don't necessarily mean like a list of things you haven't done, but all the things that you love doing, you want to continue doing. Do you worry that your time to be able to do those things is getting shorter and shorter? And therefore, you want to kind of focus on that because you know you're running out of time.
So yes, but that doesn't necessarily have to do with my age. It's my disability that's taking it away from me because I am deteriorating more quickly than I would like. So I am up to 2 knee braces and extra breaks when I am working at Risque. When I teach, when I'm on my feet teaching for like an hour at an event, I literally have to drag a chair or sit on the floor or sit on the stage or something. I cannot physically stand for longer than 10 to 15 minutes at a time, or else things start to literally break and dislocate, and it's no bueno. So yeah, in that sense, I really truly feel like I'm running out because I'm not physically able to do the kink that I used to do, if that makes sense.
It does. Well, I have similar feelings, but mine is more as I physically age. The body just can't do what it used to do. So while I may not be deteriorating at the rate you are, even just the 10 years that I've done this, I remember what I used to be able to do in rope and the positions my body could get into. Ain't no way in fucking hell my body can get into those positions at this point. It ain't happening.
You know what's funny is I am still very, very flexible for a person my age, but it has nothing to do with the strength or training or whatever. It's just that my joints pop out. And that is actually what causes that. It looks flexible, but it's not.
It's not healthy flexible.
It's not a healthy flexible. Correct. I can physically do them, but it's not in a way that I should be doing them.
Yeah. I mean, I think not that I didn't always feel this way, but I think it really, really hit me when I had the neck problems. And I haven't been able to do much in the way of impact, giving or receiving. Because I'm worried about that. And I miss giving. I got a new toy at Winterfire and I want to do a scene and use it. But I'm worried even if I can do a scene, it's not going to be at the level that I used to be able to do. One, because I haven't done it in so long. So I've kind of lost some strength in that way. But also just because can I truly physically do it? So I feel like there's a use by date.
That's terrible.
On my kink life, and it's getting closer.
That's terrible.
Which is also probably why I have put more energy into the education part, because that I can do. There's no physical issues with that. I can still stand in front of a classroom and teach. It's not a problem. In fact, because of my exhibitionist and extroverted ways, when I stand in front of the class to teach in person, I am filled with so much energy. I could stand and talk for probably 3 hours, as long as I have a really big cup of water to drink.
I can talk. That'd be fine. I could sit and do it just fine.
Yeah. I also, for the virtual classes, I can sit. So that's not a problem.
Oh, I wanted to mention before, I had a bit of a revelation while you were talking. One of my good vanilla friends is very aware of my kink lifestyle and has always been super supportive of it, to the point where she's the one that actually took all of my kinky promo photos that I use for the classes and stuff and my biopic. She's the one that did all of those photos. And so I just thought that was really kind of funny. You were talking about how you bring your vanilla friends, you can talk about some things that are kinky with them. I was like, that's my person. That's my vanilla person. Can't get her to go to the club for shit, but she'll take my photos.
Yeah. Some people I'm like, I don't think you should come to the club.
Hey, I know a few of those people too, but then a lot of other people, I'm just like, you really, really do need to come to the club.
Well, like my daughter's visiting next month, and she's coming in on the weekend that I was supposed to work Risque. And I'm like, I don't think she should come with me.
Nope, probably not.
Even though I'm not going to be kinking, I'm just going to be doing the hosting. So but I don't think she's ready. Not even ready, because she's an adult. But I don't think she wants to see all that. So I found a substitute for me, and I'm not going to the club that night.
I was going to say, I could just dare her and she'd probably do it. But also, she's such a fucking dominant. I want to know when she's going to wake up to that.
Well, maybe. She can't actually come to Risque because she's not 21 yet. She doesn't turn 21 till the summer. But maybe the next visit, I'll see if she wants to come and see it all.
I was going to say, just tell her I dare her.
Though
so that would have to be a night that you don't participate at all, because I can guarantee you, if you do anything, she will not do it. She will not even look.
I also have to be fully dressed. I mean, I can wear something sexy that doesn't cover the entire body, but I can't be naked.
Nope. She would freak the fuck out.
No, yeah. I mean, she's in the room with me when I get dressed and undressed. That she's used to. But
yeah, no, I've done that.
I think walking
years.
around at the club seeing me naked, no, I would.
Nope.
I would have to pay for her therapy for a really, really long time. But she's also going to be moving after college. She has a job. She'll be moving to an area that has a pretty solid kink community. So if she's willing, I will hook her up with some folks.
I seriously doubt she would want you to help her with any aspect of that.
No, but at some
If
point,
she's going to do it, she'll do it
out.
on her own.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. You know my daughter so well.
I really do.
But the way that Dara and I have chosen to combine, or in my case, not combine, kink life and non-kink life, it's not a rule. As with anything, right? There's no one true way. This is what works for me. Dara's way is what works for Dara. And you need to figure out what works for you. You get to choose your own balance. So I kind of invite you all to take a minute to reflect, right? If kink disappeared tomorrow, what would still be there? What would your life look like? Who knows you outside your role? Anybody? Or is it just your role? As I said, for me, there are people who know, even within the kink community, there are people who know me outside my role. So I'm okay with that. But if you're in a situation where the answer is no, nobody knows you outside your role, you might want to think about finding a better balance. And where would you find support that isn't tied to power exchange, to maybe somebody who is a friend of your partner or understands things? So just remember, kink can be a hobby, a lifestyle, a philosophy, or in my case, home. And what matters really is that it's supporting you, not trapping you. And I'm curious, I hope you guys will comment and let us know, what is your kink, non-kink life balance look like? And did we make you, for this episode, stop and think that maybe you need to change that, either one way or the other? Again, no one true way here.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to help us keep creating, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can also support our affiliates to benefit small businesses and us at the same time.
No extra cash? No problem. You can still help by spreading the word about your favorite kinky podcast. Share us with your friends, and don't forget to rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Those 5-star reviews mean the world to us. And those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pink
and level up your kink knowledge.